Premise one, Calvinists argue as though their view of God's sovereignty is critical. Premise two, if Paul was writing with that same concern, he never would have written 1 Corinthians 10:13 in the way that he did. Conclusion, Paul didn't care about the distinctions that Calvinists make, therefore he didn't write with the intention of the Calvinist worldview. Something like that. It's very simple to me. I'm just a plowboy. But it seems to me, if the concerns of Calvinists, that the distinctives of Calvinism were true, and Paul desired us, like a Calvinist does, to believe the particular distinctions, he never would have written 1 Corinthians 10:13 in the way that he did. That's the argument. A simple, somewhat unsophisticated reading of the text suggests that God doesn't want us to think that he determined an outcome that couldn't have been otherwise. That's my argument. And Calvinists seem hyper-focused as though it's really important. I think it's really important to do what God says and that you're able to, and God will strengthen you to do so. That's my argument. And Calvinism is a distraction from that, although I don't disagree with Calvinists on everything. So in other words, the fact that Paul wrote 1 Corinthians 10:13 the way that he did, and there is some sort of perspicuity of Scripture, and that the intention of the Protestant Reformation was to put the Bible in every hand of every plowboy so that he could understand it. I just think that devastates the project of the Calvinist distinctives. I'm going to make that clear, because I think Calvinists are Christians, and I think Calvinists have spread the gospel and fulfilled the Great Commission historically. But I think to be hyper-focused on making people believe Calvinism flies in the face of the author's intention, and it often obscures how we should approach people based on the example of God towards us as people. We're all moved by an overflow of unmerited grace towards anyone. There's something about that strikes us. There's something that strikes us about God serving as a human being, never using his power to exalt himself, but in his service to others, even unto death, we're moved by the love of God. I think Calvinism distorts that, or it doesn't have to. And so again, putting the philosophy aside, what should be understood by all people is the love of God demonstrated in the service of Jesus, which is what ultimately is going to bring him the most glory and silence the attack of the enemy. God's power is a given, but it's the character of God that's at stake. God bless. Maybe you can make the argument better than I could against your position, but God bless. Hey, MJ.